All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Ready to tackle some Stoicism.
Always.
So we're diving into, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and we've got this really interesting introduction by Merritt Casaubon from 1634, I
Yeah,
think.
Casaubon really digs deep into the historical context.
But for our deep dive, we're going to focus on like the key takeaways from the text itself, right? How can
Aha.
this ancient wisdom apply to our lives today?
Exactly. It's about distilling those timeless principles and figuring out how they can help us navigate the challenges of modern life.
Yeah, because let's face it, life can be pretty crazy, even if you're not a Roman emperor facing down barbarian hordes.
Right. But even though Marcus Aurelius lived in a completely different world, he was dealing with some seriously heavy stuff. Wars, plagues, political intrigue.
And a really, really bad son. Commodus, right.
Well,
Talk about family
oh,
drama.
yeah, Commodus was a whole other level of challenge. But despite all that chaos, Marcus Aurelius is still considered this model of virtue and wisdom.
A philosopher king. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. Like, how do you stay calm and rational when your world is literally falling apart?
That's what makes meditation so fascinating. It's not some theoretical treatise. It's more like um, personal journal entries, right?
Mm.
His own private reflections on how to live a good life.
So he's not just preaching Stoicism, he's actually wrestling with it, trying to apply it to his own messy reality.
Exactly. And that makes it so relatable, even centuries later, because we're all trying to figure out how to live a good life, too.
Okay, so let's dive into the Stoicism part. Virtue is the only good, right?
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean?
Well, for the Stoics, it means that things like wealth, health, even fame, they're all external. They're not inherently good or bad.
So they're kind of indifferent, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're indifferent in the sense that they don't determine your true worth or happiness. The only thing you have complete control over is your own character, your own choices.
So virtue is about like aligning your actions with some kind of higher principle.
Yeah, and for the Stoics, that higher principle is reason. Living in accordance with nature, they called it. It's about understanding the rational order of the universe and striving to live in harmony with it.
Okay, that makes sense. But nature can be pretty harsh, right?
Yeah.
Like how does accepting that bring peace and happiness?
That's where the idea of control comes in. You can't control external events like the weather or other people's actions.
But you can control how you respond to them.
Exactly. Your thoughts, your emotions, your choices, those are your domain. And that's where true freedom lies, according to the Stoics.
So it's all about mental resilience, like training your mind to handle whatever life throws at you.
You got it. And Meditations is full of Marcus Aurelius's personal practices for cultivating that inner strength. He talks about his morning ritual, for
Oh
example.
yeah, the whole get up and be a human being thing.
It's such a powerful image, right?
Yeah.
It's about choosing to engage with life fully, with intention, even when you'd rather just stay in bed.
It's not about avoiding the hard stuff, but learning how to face it head on.
Exactly. And Marcus Aurelius uses this analogy of the wrestler, not the dancer.
You were stepping into the arena knowing things are going to get messy.
But that doesn't mean you can't find a kind of grace in the struggle itself.
That's an interesting perspective. So how do we actually apply this wrestler mentality to our own lives?
Well, that's what we're going to explore further, how Marcus Aurelius's insights can help you specifically navigate the inevitable challenges we all face.
Okay, so we're talking about this wrestler mentality, right?
Yeah.
This idea of facing life's challenges head on. But how do we actually, put that into practice?
Well, Marcus Aurelius gives us some pretty vivid examples in Meditations, like that image of the ever-changing seashore. What do you think he's getting at with that one?
It's like he's saying that everything's in flux. Nothing stays the same.
Exactly, especially things like fame and fortune. One minute you're riding high, the next, the tide has washed it all away.
And that can be a pretty scary thought, right?
Mm.
Like, what's the point of striving for anything if it's all just temporary?
Right, it can be unsettling. But Marcus Aurelius actually sees it as a source of liberation.
Liberation. How so?
Well, if all those external things are so fleeting, why cling to them? Why let them define your happiness?
Okay, I see what you mean. It's about shifting your focus to what you can control, your inner world, your character, your actions.
Exactly. And it's not always easy. I mean, we're bombarded with messages telling us to chase external validation, right? Likes on social media, that next promotion.
It's like we're all on this treadmill, constantly striving for something that might not even make us happy.
Right. So it's about making a conscious choice to step off that treadmill, to reorient your focus.
So how do we do that? How do we train our minds to not get caught up in all the external stuff.
Well, meditations gives us some tools for that. Remember that analogy of the loaf of bread? How even the imperfections, the cracks and unevenness contribute to its overall quality.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. It's like saying those perceived flaws, those setbacks and challenges we face, they're not just bad luck.
They're part of what makes our lives interesting, flavorful, you know?
It's like a tapestry. You need those different threads, the light and the dark, to create something beautiful and complex.
Exactly. And if you can embrace that perspective, it can really change your relationship with difficulty. Instead of fearing it, resisting it, you can see it as an opportunity for growth.
You'd become more resilient, like that wrestler we were talking about.
Exactly. So how do we do that? How do we train our minds to see challenges as opportunities?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Well, one of the most powerful tools Marcus Aurelius offers is the practice of controlling your thoughts and perceptions.
Okay, but how do you actually do that?
It starts with awareness, paying attention to your inner dialogue, the stories you're telling yourself.
Like, if I'm constantly thinking, I'm not good enough or I'm going to fail, that's not exactly helpful, right?
Right. Those thoughts can become self-fulfilling prophecies, so you have to challenge them. Ask yourself, is this thought really true? Is it helpful? Is it serving me?
It's like weeding a garden. You have to pull out those negative thoughts before they take root and choke out all the good stuff.
That's a great analogy. And just like weeding a garden, it takes time and effort. You might have to do it every day, but the more you practice, the better you get at choosing what you allow into your mental space.
And once you start doing that, you'll probably find yourself responding differently to difficult situations, right?
Yeah, instead of getting overwhelmed by fear or anger, you can access that inner calm, that stoic resilience.
And that's where the advice on dealing with other people comes in, right? Remembering that everyone's fighting their own battles.
Exactly. Marcus Aurelius really emphasizes seeing others as fellow human beings, flawed, but still deserving of compassion.
Which is easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with people who are truly difficult, maybe even toxic.
It's not about condoning bad behavior, but recognizing that their actions are often driven by their own pain, their own misconceptions.
It's like that saying, hurt people hurt people.
Exactly. And that realization can help you detach from their negativity.
So it's not about letting them walk all over you, but about setting boundaries, protecting your own inner peace.
Right. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control how you react to them.
So it all comes back to that idea of control, right? Focusing on what we can influence, which is our own thoughts and actions.
Exactly. And that ties back to that broader Stoic concept of living in accordance with nature.
Okay, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, for the Stoics, nature wasn't just about the physical world. It was also about the rational order of the universe, the interconnectedness of all things.
So living in accordance with nature means recognizing our place within that grand scheme.
Precisely. It's about understanding that we're not isolated individuals, but part of a larger whole. And that can lead to a sense of purpose and meaning that goes beyond our own personal concerns.
Wow, there's so much to unpack here. It's not just about enduring hardship, but about like finding a way to thrive within it.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Marcus Aurelius's meditations so timeless and relevant.
So we've covered a lot of ground with meditations, right? Virtue, resilience, dealing with those difficult people. But there's one big topic we haven't really touched on yet.
Death.
Yeah, death.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of people would rather avoid thinking about. But Marcus Aurelius, he faces it head on.
Well, it's kind of unavoidable, isn't it?
I guess so. But he doesn't see it as this, big, scary unknown.
Yeah.
It's just part of the natural order of things.
Right, like everything else.
Remember that whole living in accordance with nature thing?
Yeah, well, death is a part of nature, too, just like birth, growth, and decay. It's the cycle of life.
He even compares it to a fire going out, a natural process, neither good nor bad.
Makes sense.
So instead of fearing death, he's saying we should, accept it, even embrace it.
Yeah, I think so. He says fearing death is like fearing the setting of the sun. It's going to happen, so why waste energy worrying about it?
Okay, I can see that. But how does that change how we live now?
Well, think about it. If you knew you only had a limited amount of time left, what would you change about your life?
Good question. I'd probably spend more time with my family, maybe finally finish that novel I've been putting off for years.
Exactly. You'd focus on what truly matters.
And maybe let go of some of that petty stuff that I get so stressed out about.
Right. It's about using that awareness of your own mortality to fuel a more vibrant, meaningful life today.
To make the most of the time we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Live fully, love deeply, act with purpose, because our time is precious and it's definitely finite.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. And remember, Marcus Aurelius also suggests that in a way, the younger someone dies, the less they've lost.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, he's saying those who die young haven't had as much time to be pulled away from like their natural state, that inherent simplicity and connection to the universe.
Makes you think.
It does. It challenges our usual assumptions about death.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into meditations, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Marcus Aurelius isn't just about enduring hardship. He's about thriving in spite of it, finding peace, purpose, even joy amidst all the challenges life throws at us.
And living each day as if it were a gift, right?
Yeah, because it truly is.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into meditations. It's been a real journey.
It has.
And for all of you listening out there, remember, this is just the beginning. Keep seeking, keep learning, and keep living a life of purpose and meaning. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.